In Formula One, a team principle change does not stay in the boardroom. They can shape who joins, who leaves, and whether a team sharpens into a contender or starts to crack. The wrong leader at the wrong time can start the collapse of an empire. The right one can build the next champion. That is why these changes matter so much. They reshape confidence, decision-making, and the way a team holds together when pressure hits. Sometimes the effect is immediate. Sometimes it takes longer, but it never stays at the top. So the real question is not whether these changes matter, it is which ones mattered most. Which created the biggest positive impact, which came at the most dangerous moment, which project now looks the most unstable, and which one could shape Formula One's next era. The most important long-term change is Ferrari, because the question here is simple. Did Fred Vasseur make Ferrari feel stable enough for Lewis Hamilton to believe in it? Ferrari has never struggled to create pressure. Ferrari has never struggled to generate expectation. What Ferrari has struggled with, too often, is staying calm once that expectation turns heavy. That is what made this leadership change so significant. Vasseur did not walk into a calm team and fine-tune it. He walked into one of the loudest, most emotional, and most scrutinized environments in world sport and had to make it feel credible again from the inside. And the evidence is unusually clear. Hamilton said his move to Ferrari really would not have happened without Vasseur. That is not a polite compliment. That is a 7-time world champion saying the man at the top changed how serious the entire project felt. Charles Leclerc backed that up from inside the garage. He said Vasseur made a really big difference to Ferrari's culture, brought balance, and showed an incredible vision while keeping emotion out of decisions. That changes how you understand Ferrari's problem. The issue was never only speed. Ferrari's weakness has often been what happened after the pace appeared. Strategy mistakes, unforced errors, pressure turning into confusion, weekends unraveling because the environment around the car could not hold steady. Vasseur's value is that he appears to have changed the emotional temperature of the team. And at Ferrari, calm is not a luxury. Calm is performance. So did Vasseur make Ferrari feel stable enough for Hamilton? Clearly, yes. He helped make Ferrari feel believable again. He gave Hamilton a reason to commit, gave Leclerc a leader he publicly trusts, and gave Ferrari something it has often lacked when the stakes climb: control. If Ferrari's next chapter becomes a real title era, this is the leadership shift people will point to first. The biggest positive impact is McLaren, because the question there is equally clean. Did Andrea Stella turn structure into wins? McLaren is the strongest example of a principle change producing a competitive machine rather than just a mood shift. Zak Brown called Stella McLaren's secret weapon and the best team principle in Formula One. Big words, but the results underneath them are even louder. McLaren did not just find a fast car for a moment, they became a team that looked coherent. The progress stopped feeling accidental and started feeling built. That is Stella's signature. He did not build McLaren through noise or theatre, he built it through clarity. One direction, one set of priorities, one team that stopped pulling against itself and started operating like a single machine. In Formula One, that kind of alignment is brutal for rivals because performance stops arriving in flashes. It starts arriving in layers. Each clean decision supports the next one. Each department pushes toward the same answer. And the whole operation starts carrying momentum instead of chasing it. So when you ask whether Stella turned structure into wins, the answer is yes. He gave McLaren a repeatable platform, not just a fast weekend, not just a well-timed upgrade, a genuine operating model for winning. That is why McLaren stands out as the clearest positive impact of any recent team principle change. Stella did not simply steady the team, he sharpened it. The most dangerous timing is Red Bull. Because the real question is this: is Christian Horner's exit the first crack in an empire? That is what makes Red Bull so different from the others. Ferrari changed while trying to recover control. McLaren changed while building upward. Red Bull changed from the top of the mountain while defending dominance and preparing for one of the biggest technical resets the sport has seen. That is a much more dangerous moment to disturb the structure at the top. Horner leaving with immediate effect was never going to feel routine. Max Verstappen's reaction made that obvious. He thanked Horner for the incredible successes they had shared and for breaking countless records together. That is the language used for a defining figure, not a normal management reshuffle. And the internal response showed the size of the shift. Laurent Mekies was pulled into lead, while the wider balance of the organization moved around him. That was not just a new name on paper. That was a power transfer inside one of Formula One's strongest machines. The danger is in the timing. Red Bull is not entering a quiet reset. It is heading into a new regulation era while carrying the burden of its own power unit project, one of the most complex undertakings in the sport. Mekies himself has spoken about the scale of the challenge ahead. That means this is not just a change in leadership. It is a change in leadership at the exact moment hesitation becomes expensive. The car can still be fast. The branding can still look untouchable. The results can still cover weaknesses for a while. But dominant teams rarely collapse in one dramatic scene. They lose certainty first. If Horner's exit is the first real crack, this is exactly the kind of moment when a crack starts spreading before the outside world fully sees it. And then there is Audi, the most unstable project. Because the question here is the most brutal of all. Can a new works team survive leadership instability before it even knows what it is? That is what gives Audi urgency. Ferrari is stabilizing a giant. McLaren is refining a machine. Red Bull is trying to protect an empire. Audi is still trying to define itself. It is trying to establish authority, workflow, trust, and identity all at once. That makes instability here more dangerous than it would be anywhere else. Audi is not losing stability after success. They are losing stability before they have even figured out who they are. Jonathan Wheatley had only just started shaping that future. In Audi's first Grand Prix as a works team, Gabriele Bortoleto scored points, and Wheatley called it a historic moment. That should have felt like the clean beginning of a long-term build. Instead, only 2 races later, Audi announced that Wheatley would leave with immediate effect for personal reasons, with Mattia Binotto taking on the principal responsibilities while the long-term structure would be clarified later. That is a serious problem for a new project. Formula One teams do not only need talent, they need belief in the map. People need to know who decides, how departments connect, where accountability sits, and what kind of team they are being asked to build. If that structure starts shifting in public before the identity underneath it is stable, uncertainty becomes operational. It slows decisions. It weakens trust. It makes the whole project feel provisional. So can Audi survive this? Possibly, but only if the uncertainty is brief and the structure underneath is stronger than it currently looks. Right now, Audi does not feel like a project defending a clear internal shape. It feels like a project still drawing the outline while the season is already moving. That is why it is the most unstable leadership story on the grid. And that is the real impact of team principle changes in Formula One. Not every case matters in the same way. Some changes create momentum. Some create belief. Some arrive at the worst possible time. Some expose how fragile a project really is. Ferrari may have made itself credible enough for Hamilton to commit. McLaren may be the clearest proof that structure can become a competitive weapon. Red Bull may be entering the most dangerous phase any empire faces, the part where the first loss is not pace but certainty. And Audi may be the clearest reminder that instability is most damaging when identity has not formed yet. The driver still delivers the lap. The car still delivers the pace. But leadership decides whether the whole machine knows what it is doing when the pressure spikes. It decides whether the right people stay, whether the team remains calm, whether direction survives setbacks, and whether belief lasts long enough for results to follow. A team principal change is never just a change of role. In Formula One, it can become the moment a team sharpens, fractures, or reveals what it was always going to be.